You're watching Sports Today. I'm Sushant Mehta. All of India's plans came crashing down as Joe Root officially announced his return in the Fab Four with a century in his 100th Test. At stumps, England were 263 for 3 with their captain Joe Root still unbeaten on 128 and Sibley being the last man out on the final delivery of the day. But not before he had scored a rock-solid 87. England surely took the first day honours with their captain Joe Root leading from the front and setting up this 4-match series nicely. There were a few selection surprises as well. We will come to that in a bit. But first, here's a look at how the day panned out.
Nicely timed.
England won a good toss and got exactly what they needed, a good start.
The crease gives himself a little bit of room. It's perhaps off the outside edge, but will run away.
Dom Sibley and Rory Burns began well and looked very much settled against the Indian bowling attack.
50 up for England.
A few minutes before lunch, Rory Burns tried to be a little too adventurous, going for a reverse sweep against Ashwin, and with 63 runs on the board, England lost their first wicket.
A shot out of the ordinary suddenly from Rory Burns, a reverse sweep.
Virat replaced Ashwin with Bumrah immediately after, and the move paid off. Dan Lawrence gone for a duck as England headed into the lunch at 67 for 2.
Has to go back.
Keep doing that from time to time.
Sibley was slow but steady. His skipper Joe Root, playing his 100th Test, joined Sibley and the two were back to work.
Class. Pure class from Joe Root.
In the meantime, Sibley reached third half-century of his Test career, and at the other end, Root was looking good too.
Well, it's another half-century for Dom Sibley.
England added 73 runs in the second session without losing a wicket, and soon after, Root also completed his half-century.
So that's his 50th half-century, Joe Root. Continues his good.
A little bit. Triggers have changed a little bit.
It was a long grind for India in the field with Root and Sibley not ready to throw it away.
So strong there. There it is. As described.
The England skipper, fresh from his 2 daddy hundreds in Sri Lanka, reached his 18th Test century and third in as many tests.
Beautiful placement. Wonderful placement. 100.
Root became only the 9th batsman and 3rd Englishman to score a century in his 100th Test.
India, second in India.
Oh, that has to be out.
Sibley stood like a rock and was closing in on his 100 as well, but was dismissed on the final over of the day for 87 as England ended the opening day at 263 for 3. Sports Bureau, India Today.
Harbhajan Singh, a good toss to win and a good start for England. How many of us thought last evening that England will take the first day honours? I mean, they have totally dominated on day one.
Well, I think England, they have definitely started the tour on a very good note. They were playing in Sri Lanka and they must have got used to of playing spin in Sri Lanka. And though the conditions are not as, similar as we always feel that Asian conditions are very similar to each other. But, some sort of, it could have given them that surety of in their defense. This is how we need to bat in Asia. So I think they have started off really well. They won a very good toss, and Chepauk is a very good wicket. Whatever little I have seen, it seemed very firm kind of a wicket. So it was a kind of a very, very good toss to win, and to bat first is always handy in Indian conditions. So I think, considering all these things, I think they have done a very good job, and they are definitely sitting on a very good number at this stage.
Right, Harbhajan, start of this series, we were all talking about Joe Root versus Virat Kohli, the battle of the champions. How well did Root play today? A century to begin his 100th Test, led from the front. We know that he's becoming habitual of scoring these daddy hundreds, so he can carry on for a long time.
Yes, he's a quality player. There's no doubt about it. He's a backbone of England cricket. when it comes to their batting. So I'm not surprised, with his numbers and what he achieved today. Congratulations to him for scoring brilliant 100 on his 100th Test match, which obviously means a lot. Not just for him but for that England dressing room as well. Because you always need runs on the board, and you always want or look up to someone coming into India and score those runs, and I don't see anybody else doing a better job than Joe Root. So yes, he's in a good nick. He scored those big 200s in Sri Lanka as well. So yeah, very well done to him, and I hope tomorrow Indian team can get him out early and get on with the job.
Right. Rahul Rawat, our senior special correspondent, is also with us. Rahul, was Joe Root exceptionally good? I know he always is very good, but was Joe Root, do we give the credit to Joe Root? Should we bash the Indian bowlers? Were they not good enough? Or is this pitch simply a batter's paradise?
Well, Sushant, it's a combination of everything, the selection. Because Kuldeep Yadav wasn't picked, even though he was part of the 15-man squad. But suddenly Akshar Patel gets injured last evening. And what happens next is that two standby players, Shahbaz Nadeem and Rahul Chair, they were not part of the squad. They were in the standbys, but they are included in the 11. In fact, Shahbaz Nadeem gets included in the 11, and Rahul Chair has been included in the squad. So Kuldeep Yadav doesn't get to play. See, it's a one-dimensional bowling attack, if I can say that, because these are all three finger spinners.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had a wrist spinner who could turn the ball either way, he would have got a bit of bounce. But I'm sorry to say, the pitch isn't turning too much. So possibly you needed a bowler who had better skills. You needed a bowler who had a better experience compared to Washington Sundar and Shahbaz Nadeem, even though no disrespect to their achievements and why they are part of this team. But yes, you have to, as you said, Joe Root is coming into the series on the back of those, a double 100 and then 186 odd runs against Sri Lanka in a similar conditions. These ones turned out to be better batting conditions. But yes, the way he has played, he has set this series up pretty nicely.
Right, Harbhajan Singh, as Rahul said, were you surprised that Kuldeep Yadav was not selected in the 11 today? Somebody who was on standby was picked ahead of him even when Kuldeep was part of the original squad. What's the rationale over here?
I would have loved to see Kuldeep Yadav in the 11. See, he's been one of those bowlers who don't get a longer run. Whereas other people have got a longer run than him. I feel he's a quality bowler. He's a match winner, proven match winner in shorter format if we talk about one-dayers. But even in the test match, whatever little opportunities he have got, he has done really well. So yeah, I was a bit surprised not to see him, and playing two spinners against England, which was a little surprising for me. I think Kuldeep Yadav could have bring another sort of variation in the bowling lineup, and you never know, he could have been very handy on this wicket as well. If you bowl a little slower in Chepauk and Mumbai, you get the ball to bounce little more than other grounds in India. So I think Kuldeep Yadav, I was a bit surprised not to see him there, but I don't know what was the decision and what was the thinking behind this decision.
Right. Rahul, England clearly has the advantage right now. Best case scenario, worst case scenario for India today. The first session tomorrow is going to be really, really important.
Well, it has to be, Joe Root, as you in fact kept mentioning, that Joe Root has scored those daddy hundreds. He's scoring big hundreds. He's already batting on 128. And now who are to follow? See, Sibley has had an experience of 14 test matches. Rory Burns and then their other opener, in fact, Lawrence, who got out for a duck. These are not two experienced batsmen. Now who are to follow? Ben Stokes, an experienced batsman. Then Joss Butler. Ollie Pope is being considered to be possibly the next big thing in England cricket. Root is already batting. So it could be a hard grind for India again on day 2. But for that, if India have to avoid that, they need quick wickets, early wickets tomorrow, because the ball is still fairly new around 8-9 overs old, this second new ball. So India have to make that ball count, that new ball count in the first session tomorrow.
Right, Harbhajan Singh, it seemed like India did not put the English batsmen under pressure. You know, Root and Sibley already set. Were you surprised by the Indian team's strategy?
Well, there must have been some sort of game plan for sure. You know, all the bowlers were probably trying to achieve whatever was the plan was set by the team or the team management.
Right.
So obviously it didn't work today. So when any plan didn't work, it always looked bad. But I'm sure, you know, these guys have done well in the previous outings in India, even just now in Australia. So, you know, it was one of those days when things didn't work for Team India, and I'm sure tomorrow when we start again, and I'm sure we'll see, you know, small little changes here and there, and even in the field, you know, could bring bigger differences in the game. So I'm hoping and expecting tomorrow plan to change and come back to the normal sort of plan, and have more attacking field and stop those singles which was available. You know, quite a few today, and you know, if we able to do that tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be able to get England team out, you know, in some time.
Well, international cricket has finally returned to India. Virat Kohli is back leading the men in blue. A lot has happened, and from the last time Virat played that Adelaide Test, and there's a lot more at stake this time for the Indian skipper. Listen in.
I think if you put things in perspective in terms of the experience in the squad and how much cricket our boys had played against the opposition who had played way more, stacked up, the odds were stacked up against us after Adelaide. The kind of character and the belief shown by the whole squad, I don't think that any victory has been more special than this.
I think the character the boys showed, you know, right through, because you know, you talk about Indian performances, I'll go one step forward. I don't think cricket has seen anything like this or anything bigger than this. And that includes world test match cricket, 130 years old, 135 years old. I don't think you would have seen anything as big as this. To go and play 16 days of test match cricket and you add 36 in that all out was unreal. I mean, towards the end, you didn't have anyone to pick. There was one player left in the dressing room where if there was a concussion injury, he would have also come. Karthik Tyagi was his name. He was the only fellow left. So you can imagine what the boys went through, and then to put up a show like they did was unreal. I mean, your hair stands when you even think of it, and especially on the last day.
I'll be very honest, before the Melbourne test, I was a bit anxious. But then the way the whole team played in Melbourne, I was cheering every ball, you know, jumping up from the couch every now and then as well. Every time a wicket fell, probably not as loud as I am on the field, but still the cheers were loud enough for the staff to be heard everywhere in the house. जैसे रवि भाई अभी बात भी कर रहे थे, तो मैं यही सोच रहा था कि ये जो सीरीज विन है, ये सिर्फ हमारी टीम के लिए नहीं, बल्कि इंडियन क्रिकेट के लिए सबसे बड़ा पॉजिटिव साइन है फॉर मेनी इयर्स टू कम. क्योंकि you talk about transition, as I said, you talk about bench strength. आप बात करते हो कि who's the next lot of players who can, you know, step up and start performing at this level और Indian cricket को आगे लेके जाएंगे. तो आपने वो example देखा है जहाँ पे हमारी bench strength ऐसी है कि हमारे पास ready players हैं. You know, luckily over the years as a cricketer, I've become someone who adapts really well to situations, and Ravi bhai would know that, using the crease, standing in and out and all that kind of stuff. So I've become very flexible. So for me to understand how to change diapers and learning all those things wasn't that tough, because I was keen to learn. I wouldn't say I've mastered it, but I'm very, very comfortable with everything that I've learned so far, and I wanted to.
Well, Virat Kohli is learning to change diapers. We wish him all the best with that. But right now, we'll take a little break and come back with Harbhajan Singh on what happens tomorrow in India versus England.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.